Yes, please do.
All right. And also, I guess we need some people in the chat, but we'd like to get confirmation from chat that they can hear us.
I'm pulling that up. All right, they have gone live. I'm going into the game.
What's up?
Well, we have communing.
Yeah, hello,
versus
everybody.
Hunter.
Anybody's here? I know everybody was tuned into the end of All-Stars against Joker King. Seemed like that one was coming down to the wire, but we had to tune out of there to get this set up, so I wasn't able to catch the ending.
Let us know in the chat if you know how that finished.
So yeah, we're bringing you game 2 of CoffeePass against MHT. CoffeePass Drew won game 1 by 10. And he's bringing Hunt down here against CoffeePass. That was CoffeePass, right? Or is it Yoda? CoffeePass again from MHT.
Jared confirmed our audio is good. So glad
Cool.
to hear that.
Thanks, Jared.
So if you're Drew, you're up by 10 in this match. What's your reaction to seeing him flip CoffeePass, Greg?
I guess right off the bat, I'm probably not thrilled because mains versus mains can always depend on who has a better draw. One of the things that we've talked about kind of as a team with Hunt down is that it's simultaneously the best and worst dark side deck out there. If you have the opening draw where you get 2 Twixes and a Vader, you're feeling pretty good. But if you get some bad draws with it, you can really feel like you're behind the 8 ball when your strength should be, aggression, taking over sites, and just kind of pushing your damage through. But the other side of that is, from Drew's specific perspective here, we didn't think that MHT would put him on Hunt down. It's not a deck that Drew has shown up with really at all in the past. So he might be feeling comfortable there in that, maybe MHT's deck is a little weakened against mains. He's going for maybe more of like a CCT map kind of range from Drew, and he may have overlooked Hunt down as a potential deck. So I think you're not super thrilled about this matchup, but as long as you have a decent draw, then you're probably feeling okay. 10 diff isn't much either way, so you're basically playing just a game of Star Wars cards here.
And Drew, knowing the matchup, pitches Maul ship from hand, and we see Matt lose Endor Celebration free ride combo from hand. Both of which
and he got his bridge out, which
nothing.
is...
He only got one of his 2-0s, but at least he got one.
Yeah, he got one, and he picked up all 4 of his cards that he activated. So I don't think he searched. Was that a search or was that a bridge from hand? I didn't even see.
I think it was from hand, and I kind of like, no matter what, drawing your whole pile there if you're Drew, because you're like, well, Matt's only activating 3 this turn, or 4? 3, right? Yeah. 5, actually. He's
5.
done things.
He gets a bunch of...
Oh, he's in the middle of his activation. He peaked after a couple things, probably knowing what force he was going to use. Sorry, I was just looking at how many he had activated, and he was sitting there for a minute, and I was like, I guess he's done. But yes, he's activating 5. I forget that the commuting, he has Walkling and he has himself. I'll give him +1.
Lots of sneaky icons.
People recognizing that you have landed in the Executor.
Yeah, I had some inside info here. Had a strong feeling that Drew was going to be playing Hunt down, which, as you know, starts the Executor, Holotheater, and Meditation Chamber. So I figured I would get close to the action. So trying to give you a on-field report right from the bridge here. I'll let you know if anything goes down nearby.
Interestingly enough, Drew was set on Hunt down on regardless of the order of this matchup. So had he been playing Dark on, I guess that was Thursday night, he would have played Hunt down then as well for the reasons that Greg gave.
Yeah, so it was pretty funny to see MHT flip over Hunt Down in their first game.
All right, Drew force pushing. I think he ended up with just one force push in his deck. This is a continuous discussion where he always wants to put a second force push in decks, and I am firmly always against doing so, and the whole rest of the team laughs at the two of us arguing.
Yeah, actually, he posted his final list, and then I think he made one more change after that. So let me see if I can pull that up.
Yeah, I believe I'm interested to see if he undid that change, or I'm assuming he kept with it. And given the matchup, I'm glad Drew made the change. This was potentially an EPP Dengar, I believe, for a second copy of Sith Fury. So EPP Dengar just has a lot more utility in some matchups. In particular, if Matt rolled out Old Allies, we thought it would be helpful for him to have that. Drew counterpointed with he had played against, I think, Greg this morning on Old Allies, and Dengar didn't do much. And Drew has been very excited about playing 2 Sith Fury in this deck. More so for the loss functionality than the used. But either way.
Getting the swap, which there was one character in particular he wanted to swap for, which I don't think will come into play in this matchup. But we won't spoil anything yet, just in case. All right, so he force pushes, gets out another Twix, gets an Emperor to back up Visage at the Hollow Theater. That's not a bad turn. He just like doubled his activation almost.
And now he's got a 2-1 advantage over Matt, activation wise.
Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see. So obviously there's no battleground site on the table, right? So nobody's committing to action yet. But Visage pinging away favors Drew since he won the first game by 10. So it'll be interesting to see who makes the first move with the battleground site.
Yeah, I was going to ask you your strategy. Let's say you're in a match play event. In this exact situation, if you're Drew, do you make him make the first move, be the one to play a site and put guys down?
Right now, I don't think so. I mean, if Matt's activating 5 going into his next turn also, I mean, I don't know. I would feel comfortable putting down a guy to a site first if I had the activation advantage and I had a couple tricks in hand. But it is interesting. I mean, like I said, 10 isn't a huge differential advantage. So I think you don't change your strategy too much. Like you wouldn't plan on winning a game outright by just pinging with Visage and having no battlegrounds ever hit play. So I think you still have to play a little bit aggressively with Hunt Down. And right now he's, like you said, he's got a 2-1 activation advantage. He's got an extra card in hand. I do think that if I was Drew, I would be perfectly content to make the first move with Hunt Down, whether it's a downtown plaza or a hallway or whatever. I mean, if he finds the hallway, that's huge. Activation differential is going to hurt Matt even more because half his deck is going to deploy +2 to the hallway due to the Jedi deploy +2 text. You also have to factor in that Old Man Luke is probably a decent portion of MHT's character base. And if you're a Hunt Down and you commit to a site first, he can't deploy Luke there. And now you've kind of locked up a drain against a big portion of his character range.
So I fundamentally agree with everything you said, especially with the 2-1 activation ratio. I think it actually favors Shrew to be aggressive.
Yeah, he's going to get his damage in first. He's going to be able to reinforce his site better. He's going to be able to counter beat better. So yeah, I think he should be the one initiating and initiating the action by getting a battleground site out first.
So Matt, eager to know what's in his force pile, probably because of how little he's activating. He has to know, is it worth drawing these cards or do I need to just wait a turn and have more things to spend? He searches for the Theed Palace site, the Theed Palace generator with his Jedi Temple meditation room, and gives up the free verify to Drew, but likely knowing, I'm assuming he's not playing that site, and I'm assuming that he knew this and went in there just to see what he needed to decide if he would draw.
Don't they play that? Well, I guess he could be playing the battle planes as his site. There's two options. He either has the battle planes instead of that site, and he's only on one battleground, or he has the site in hand. I guess the third possibility is he was happy to just deploy it from reserve to get some
to
extra
get the
activation
extra
going.
3. Yeah, I figure, I don't know. I think it's, if he needs the activation, I think it's kind of loose to do it blindly. So
Yeah.
I was just assuming in this situation, if I'm Matt, there's no way I'm just blindly searching for it with the once per game search.
Is it a
Unless
once
it's
per
in
game?
my, I think so.
No, it's he can, it's the choo and he can just get it whenever.
Oh, then I disregard everything I just said. I thought it was a once per game. See, not going to Worlds, I'm not as prepared as I would have been. I apologize.
Well, he does have a speak for the JCC, so that'll help him narrow the activation gap.
Now he's going to deploy Yoda. He gets Master of the Force Virtual.
Yeah, he must have verified and decided there was, the best use of his force was to get a Yoda out of there, rather than drawing up any of those cards.
Yeah, and also knowing he actually was probably checking, should I play my speak here?
Right. Yeah, a couple things that he could check for. So he was in his force pile. Make sure the JCC is there, and also, if your force pile isn't too compelling to draw up, Yoda is a 1/0. So when there is action at an episode 1 battleground somewhere, he'll be able to fly Yoda in.
And he gets the
until
advantage.
Then, he gets the extra activation.
Right. He gets that activation that he would not have otherwise had. So we see Drew lose Visage to Visage. And from hand, Matt loses Wisa off the top. Drew's activating 10 this turn. Matt got his activation from 5 to 9 in that turn, so he can't be displeased with that. He almost doubled his activation there. Drew and Matt both have small hands. Tarkin's Bounty coming out for Drew, so he's got 11 cards to pick from. I wouldn't be surprised to see him end up with more activation here, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, he's really in the driver's seat now, because if he, plays another Twix this turn, draws 5, saves 5, I mean, what can Matt really do on his turn? Just putting a guy out, putting a site out and a guy there is going to give Drew more activation when he's already got some save plus a big hand. So Drew's got to be feeling pretty good right now, the way that the first couple of turns have played out as far as activation.
Should I ask you your feelings about Darth Sidious being at the Holo Theater?
Is that live? Is MHT wondering whether or not he has to worry about Darth Sidious going to another site and putting all of his Jedi out of play, or is that not in effect yet?
I don't think it's in effect yet, but I will say it really cracked me up when Drew messaged me a few days ago, and he's like, I hope that I'm clear on when they're making this live so I can decide if I have to play Lord Sidious and Newt Gunray and all these other cards, or if I should free them up for something else. Because Huntdown actually was one of the few decks that may have actually played both personas currently. The ASM, I guess, as well, from what I was reading. I don't know, but Huntdown's at least one of the ones that's somewhat.
Well, no, ASM can't, right? ASM can't play Palpatine.
Oh, the whole.
But it's bring him and Huntdown are definitely bring him number 1, Huntdown clearly number 2. I don't know if there's anything else. I don't know if there's like a Coruscant CRV deck or SSA deck or something that was impacted by the change.
It's
but
the
definitely bring him,
Palpatine.
definitely Huntdown.
The light side Palpatine is what people are arguing about, that could like impact some things there with ASM. Drew made me laugh though, because I was trying to argue to him, in a deck that has Force Push and Force Lightning, I can't see not playing Count Dooku, and he had cut Count Dooku, and so he was like, also if this change goes into effect, then Mike and I can stop arguing about Count Dooku in this deck, which made me laugh. So I told him, I was like, everything happens for a reason, Drew. The PC wants you to see the error of your ways. Put Count Dooku in your deck.
So, all right. So just to recap Drew's turn, he played his Tarkin's Bounty, took a card, and then just picked up to 13 cards in hand, saving 4. So I guess, the only other Twix that we can be reasonably sure is in there is Vader's Castle. So maybe there was no Vane, no Vader's Twix, but he picked up something, drew up some more cards, and saved a couple. And so now MHT on his turn says for the Boss Nass Chambers and plays his own Choo-Choo, the site that Qui-Gon Communing can pull, and puts Luke there. So he is going to go ahead and commit. I guess.
I think Matt kind of has to do something at this point.
Yeah.
Oh, proficiency.
Proficiency's decent.
I don't think it's all that relevant here, but he's going to be powered +3 in battles. He's potentially draining for 4 there, but you have to imagine that Drew's coming down with multiple things here.
Yeah. Drew's going to be coming down and fighting, and he's the beneficiary of the 2 extra activation. But it is going to be Yoda's going to fly over and back him up. There is a card that I really wanted Drew to play. I don't think it made it into the deck. I think he was on the fence with Enter the Bureaucrat, and I don't know if it landed in or out.
I believe it was out.
But it would be pretty sick if he could just ignore this drain of 4 and go set up shop at the downtown plaza or the hallway and Enter the Bureaucrat this drain. But yeah, I think you're right. I think he's going to commit some guys. He's activating 12 with 4 safety. He's got 16. There is, between the proficiency and the site text, making both of MHT's characters +2, he's got a decent chunk of power there.
He's going to be stout.
18 power?
18 power on 2 dudes. It's pretty stout.
More than that. No, yeah, because Yoda's already got the bonus. Yeah, 18 power on 2 dudes who are both fully immune, and Luke has a redraw, and there's a saber there. I mean, that's pretty good. Pretty good. So MHT low on cards. He draws 3 to bring his hand size up to 7. He's saving 2. So right now he's representing a couple things, representing the ability to play like a barrier or a clash or just some interrupts through first strike. So he saves a couple force just to make it a little bit harder for Drew to figure out his turn. But he's only got 6 cards in hand after losing a speak from hand to Visage, and then he does activate 1 with Pathetic Life Form. So he's got 3 back. So he's representing a couple tricks.
Yeah, and so the Thief Palace I came from hand. So like Matt knew he was giving up that verify, but it must have been to check like is Yoda in there, is the Jedi Council in there, is it worth doing this? What's in my force pile? So we'll see what Drew cracks back with here.
Yeah, he's got 13 cards in hand and 16 active. So he should have some options. He also, the previous turn, he played a Tarkin's Bounty, picked out a card, and then drew 6 more on top of that, I think.
That sounds right.
So he should have a pretty good idea of what his options available were going to be, and should have a pretty stacked hand at this point. Also took a Force Lightning into hand. I don't know if that'll be relevant. We'll see if he plays a Dooku or not.
If you listen to me, it's in there. In fact, I'm going to go look. I think we can settle this.
I mean, if he does have the Dooku and the Force Lightning in hand, he may want that Dengar this turn.
He's got no escape back Vader. I believe Count Dooku is in his deck. So that likely means Drew didn't have a Vader in hand.
Yeah, which is interesting considering how many cards he's picked up, and he started with 12 cards in his opening hand. But Hunt Down is a little different these days, right? You typically only see like 3 copies of Vader. Blizzard 4 may or may not be even in the deck at this point. So it's not like the good old days of playing 4 or 5 Vaders and a copy or 2 of Blizzard 4.
Yeah, it's very. In fact, that was an argument he and I were having the other day.
Okay. So this is interesting. He plays his hallway.
Maybe he sneakily put Enter the Bureaucrat back in his deck.
Yeah, maybe he was worried that we were going to squeal to Matt about what was in his deck. Yeah, really interesting. He goes Vader to the hallway. So right now he's prepared to eat a drain of 4 so he can go lock up his own drain of 2.
It makes me think he doesn't have that much gas in hand to fight.
Which is definitely surprising considering the way the first couple of turns went. He picked up, started with 12 cards. Seemed like he didn't have all of his Twixes, so you have to assume he's got other stuff. Didn't have a Vader, it seems like. He did have the Vader Saber without finding a copy of I'm Your Father. So yeah, pretty strange. I don't know what's in his hand really. If he's setting up to eat this drain of 4, I mean that math clearly doesn't favor him. Draining 2 against drain of 4.
Yeah, I hope he just drew into like it makes the fact that he had no escape for Vader. He played a sight. He played that Vader and Saber from hand. To your point, with no I'm Your Father. It's odd. Like I don't know what all he would have in his hand. Maybe
Right.
he's got like multiple accelerates, but then maybe he should be putting those back. I don't know.
And we see the Vader's Castle. Drew just losing it from hand at this point. I mean, he's activating 15 with only 26 life force, so that seems fine.
Well, we'll find out if he added it back. I'm gonna assume he did not.
No, unless he was watching the game between Desai and Joker King and saw Joker King using a copy and felt so inspired that he thought about throwing it back into Huntdown.
He said it was his 61st card in Slack. I went back to look.
Ooh, okay, so that was pretty rough there. He lost a copy of Emperor from hand, a copy of Accelerate from hand. So maybe we were both right in our assessment that his big hand was just full of stuff he didn't really want. Multiple Emperors, multiple Accelerates. And then he top decks 2 cards, and it's a Force Field, which is obviously relevant in this matchup, and then the Downtown Plaza. So one thing, by watching him go Vader to the hallway here, you might figure that he could try to race with Maul or somebody going to the Downtown Plaza and then just paying to drain for 2 and 2 to match the 4 that MHT is doing at the Thief Palace generator. But with the Downtown Plaza going off the top, that's going to make things really interesting here.
It really narrows Drew's opportunities for threatening damage. And now, if you're Matt, you almost just double down on the Naboo site. And the math favors you.
Yeah, I mean, Bureaucrat didn't come down. You saw a site go off the top. Vader's at the hallway. Yeah, I think for sure. I mean, he's only got 5 more cards in his hand right now, so I don't know if he has characters to throw down. Which again is a reason why it's really strange that Drew didn't attack last turn, right? There's a small hand. I mean, he probably didn't have to fear much of a counter beat from Matt.
Yeah, you wouldn't think so. I don't know. I'll be interested to get Drew's take and see his replay of like what was in his hand and why he made this call, but not what I would have expected. But again, I think his hand must be light on other threats.
And it's also weird that he only lost those 2 cards from hand, right? He lost a Palpatine and lost an Accelerate. So I guess he didn't have too much useless stuff in his hand if he only lost those 2 and then top deck the others.
Well, he drew. They could be that he has like the Force Field and other things that are like a Sith Fury, things like that he wants in his hand but he can't play. So he probably has like a contingent of those types of cards, and then he had duplicates of some other things, and then he drew like 4 or 5 cards, right? So hopefully he drew into some threats in those cards that he drew.
Yeah. Okay. So there comes a big Anakin down for 8 force to back up the other 2. So now there's a really sizable force and a Ray. Wow. So good hand for Matt. 5 cards in hand, and he has 2 beefy characters to throw down.
And now
I mean, Ray, not that she's beefy in herself, but she's going to get a card out of this 14 card use pile. 15 card.
Anakin's lightsaber comes down for Anakin. Matt down to 3 cards in hand, but has quite the stout force at that site.
He's also going to play a leadership here. So interesting position for Drew. I think you probably don't grab this. I mean, there's probably one General Leia, one General Kenobi.
And it's probably a one of leadership.
Probably one of leadership. So I think you just let it go.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I
he does
think
only
he's
have
more interested in grabbing like a blaster deflection or something.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I'm hopeful
Other
for
things we
Drew's
might
sake,
see.
that he's got like an EPP Maul, Dr. E combo. He's going to have something pretty formidable to make a dent in the stack.
Yeah. The other thing we might see this turn is maybe he throws down another character or two and then flies Vader over with Alana Dobreed. I mean, yeah, he can't. Right now, he's getting drained for 5 if he does nothing.
Yeah, he has to do something.
Yeah, well, he's got 12 card hand, 18 active after paying 3 to drain, and 2 in reserve. So we can pretty much assume that he's not going to be fighting this turn. But yeah, you'd expect to see him position himself to block that drain of 5.
Yeah, exactly. I think he will get stuff over there. To your point, he might Lana. There is the EPP Maul, double swinging Maul, notably. Hopefully, he also, for Drew's sake, he also has like a Dr. E combo. If he can then fly Vader over.
Yeah, or another thing that's not bad. Okay, so it does come down with aura. I mean, another thing that's not bad is if he has something to stop, like sorry about the mess, then he's also just good with a Gick in hand at this point.
True.
You try to clear out some of these characters, Gick away, and then still piece together either another Maul to come down next turn or find that Lana, do something to get Vader over there. But he's definitely got to block the drain for a little bit and also make a dent in this stack.
It's unfortunate for him. He had to no escape for the Vader. Like being in a situation where you might be able to no escape that Maul back is where you want to be.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely seems like Drew did not have the best draw.
Drew checking his destiny. So that makes me think he might have Lana in hand. He's like, how low can we go?
Right. Can he afford to put down like a Tarkin and also fly Vader over? Does he have to fly Vader over with the 2 options that he's got in there? Something like that could be possible now. Or he also might want to know at the end of turn if he should lose his Visage off the top or lose it from hand.
That too. So Matt uses Ray, goes up to 5 cards. He'll be able to do that in his turn to go to 6 cards.
Right, and he can also
use
the communing to figure out another good card to take into hand, whether it's dropping a card with the objective text, the epic event text, or using Ray if he sinks it to the bottom. So P59 also comes down to the stack. So this is okay for Drew. He's got 2 swings, an aura swing, a P59 shot. Right now it's looking like he has decent outs to make some progress getting through this stack. And with Matt at only a 5 card hand, if Drew is successful in chipping away here, then I think that's really going to catapult his percentage to win this game by 10 or more. But this next turn is going to be an interesting one. He's in his draw phase. He saved 2. Sorry, he had 3, drew 2, and saved 1.
Drew now at 21 in life force, Matt at 26. Drew with 10 cards in hand, Matt at 5. So they actually both have above 30. Drew sitting at 31 total. And
both at 31 life in hand.
Yeah, 31. Yeah, I agree with you. This is going to be like a pivotal turn.
Yeah, I mean the power total at that site right now is 25 to 16. So Matt's getting an extra 3 in battle. So it'll be 28 to 16. 2 swings for Matt, a bunch of weapons for Drew, and then at least 1 battle destiny for Matt. He's got Anakin who can add 1. He's got Ray adding to the total. He's got potential Gift of the Mentor plays.
He may have Solo in hand, which would also add 1 with Ray and allow him to bring that blaster deflection that he just lost off the top.
Yep. Okay, so he uses Communing to peek at the top card of his force pile, and then uses Qui-Gon to drop a card and take it into hand.
Drew is taking the Justin approved strategy of drop a bunch of guys and hope. So the winner of this match will take on the winner of the Charlie Arlinson Bastion Winklehouse match. Charlie, I think, won the first one by 10 or 12.
10, yeah.
10.
Both
Okay.
of these matches, the first game went by 10.
And I believe they're playing tomorrow early afternoon.
Yeah,
early afternoon Eastern time. So sorry, not to be American centric.
I want to say it was 1:30 Eastern, or no, 2:00 Eastern if it was the same time, but we also just had daylight savings, so you may want to pay attention to future announcements to confirm that that's the right time.
1 p.m. Central. Charlie is in chat. 1 p.m. Central, so 2 p.m. Cool. Eastern. I think that's like 7 or 8 p.m. in Germany. I think I'm going to go with 8 p.m.
Yeah, I know they're also on a savings time of something, but beats me without looking it up.
All right. Matt searches for force projection. Not surprisingly, he does not find it. General Kenobi.
So there's the General Kenobi that he pulled with Rebel Leadership.
Which notably, I think he has to be with a clone or alone to use much of his text. So currently, he is just a beefy Jedi.
Yes, adding a bunch more power. 8 more power.
Yeah, because of the site, adding 2 to all of Matt's Jedi, which currently he has 4 of them there. He's getting 8 extra power currently from the site.
Right, and he's also going to get 1 in the battle from Qui-Gon Communing and 3 from the lightsaber proficiency. So right now, if he were to battle, it'd be 37 to 16.
That's a huge disparity.
It is. And it's the kind of Huntdown's the kind of deck where you may have to take some risks, like tempo risks, where you're going to peel cards, but you need to get something off the board. For Drew's sake, I hope he does have the Gick here, because at the end of this battle, I imagine he's going to be peeling a lot of cards if he doesn't. So there is a battle. Luke swings at Maul, draws a Luke and a Yoda for Destiny. They're each +1 because of Qui-Gon Communing text. So right now Maul's hit. Looks like we might be checking to see
sorry about
if there are any responses.
Oh, here's Alana. Try to save him from his forfeit. Notably, he lost his Masterful Move combo from hand a while back to Visage, so I would think that means he has Gick.
Okay, I missed that. That's a good pickup. So yeah, Lana Dobreed combo to prevent Maul's forfeit from being reduced. He can't be used to satisfy attrition, but yeah, I mean, if he does have the Gick, that's an interesting play too. Because is the 7 forfeit going to stop him from using the Gick in this battle?
16, 23. He'd be at like 31. Unlikely, maybe, if his Destiny's good. Or he just might have to use a couple force and he thinks that there's going to be a time where he comes down with a maul or something again, and it's going to take much more than 3 or 4 overflow, and he wants to save the Gick for that.
Yeah, and one thing that's interesting is so he had to use a force to play that, and then with his weapons phase action, he tries to swing with aura at Luke. It gets blaster deflection, and because he spent the 1, he doesn't have anything left to grab.
This
Now with Matt's next action, he plays a clash, and Vader a clash against Maul. Maul gets excluded, and since he's hit, he's lost. So there were no swings by Drew there. I wonder if that should have been a Maul swing with his first action rather than the aura swing.
Knowing that it's hit, and if clash happens, that happens, I think the answer is definitely yes.
Right. I think you want to leverage one of your swings there. So now P59 shot at, right? Was that a P59 shot?
Shot at Ray. He hit, but then Matt used Luke to make him redraw. Then Drew a Destiny 3 character, and he used Sith Fury, I think it was 3, to take it into hand, and then he drew Search and Destroy as a 3 and missed on Ray.
Yeah, so, and that was Dr. E, so he has Dr. E in hand.
This battle is going about as poorly as it could have gone if you are Drew.
Yeah. I really think he should have had that Maul swing as his first weapon.
Even if that happens, he just probably clears 1 to 2 characters here, and then is still in a position where he's taking roughly 30 overflow, so he has to have Gick or not, and then he's really on the back pedal. Like, Matt doesn't have that many cards in hand, but he has still this formidable sight that probably has 3 to 4 dudes at it. You have to imagine he might play a character next turn, and then he draws into a decent hand. Like, I don't think there's any position here where Drew is not losing this game by more than 10.
Yeah. I mean, he did draw 5, which is going to get rid of something. Matt did not lose 2 to add a draw with Anakin. Didn't do any other.
He doesn't need to, things. Really.
No, he doesn't. I mean, he has to anticipate the Gick, so he just figures it's not worth it. Everything's dying, and it's going to be game if there's no Gick. So we see P59 go lost, or go lost. I mean, you have to imagine with all that stuff. Okay, there is the Gick. So we're still playing cards here.
He had to have it after. There's no way he's just pitching his master move.
Yeah, but that was not, like you said, not a great turn for Drew. He got rid of Ray out of that stack. So the drain is still 5. Matt's got 3 in hand, but he's going to be able to pick up some here. And life force counts, we've got Drew at 29 handed life.
21 in deck.
21 in deck, 8 in hand, so 29 total, and Matt's at 26 and 5, so still at 31. And he has his Wackling, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be relevant with Coward in effect right now.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if Matt ever satisfies Coward in this game, but we'll see.
So, I mean, that's why I think the Lana was a mistake, right? He ended up dicking anyway. But if he doesn't play the Lana there, like if you know that your intention is to Gick by the end of that battle, there's no reason to save Maul's 7 forfeit, right? That's not relevant. You keep the force active. He could have grabbed blaster deflection. Basically, he'd be in this exact same spot, but he'd still have the Lana in hand, and he'd have blaster deflection grab, which would be a pretty big
better
upgrade.
Position.
Yeah. Not that it would elevate him to, clearly winning the game or anything, but it would be a much better position than what he's in now.
Yeah. I'm 7 cards in hand. I'm feeling very pessimistic, sadly, about Drew's chances. He has 14 active. Like, what's his best case scenario cards in hand here? Like another double swinging Maul and...
Yeah, for sure, another double swinging Maul. He needs to have that. He has the Dr. E, so we know he has that from the Sith Fury.
Yeah.
So if he
Those
can avoid any kind of crazy tricks from Matt and everything goes his way, then he's coming down. I mean, I don't know. There's still none of these things are good.
7, 11. He has enough for Maul. You are beaten. Doctor E combo in a battle. That would be like the best singular thing I think he could do.
Yeah, he's got 6. So yeah, it's probably Maul, Doctor E battle. I mean, maybe he drew into a you are beaten with that last card that he drew on his last draw phase. Otherwise, there's no reason to expect he has that in hand. No, and he's not. That's not a play now. He's paying 3 to drain for 2.
Yeah, him draining is not a good sign for the long term of this game. I don't think for him.
No, I think we're probably going to see Maul, Doctor E battle. That'll no, he's not even. God, his hand must have been absolutely brutal. He's just drawing up now.
Yeah. It's funny. So I actually hung out with Drew and his wife and my wife and our kid yesterday. They had us over for brunch and we walked. And then we went on like an hour-long walk around Atlanta yesterday. And as things do, we kind of separated. So Drew and I were talking about Star Wars cards, and he was like, Hunt Down. It's like you said at the beginning. He was like, depending on my hand, it could just be it's the best dark side, or sometimes it's the worst. But we'll see. And he was like, also, Matt's just such a good player. Like 10 is basically nothing. It's going to be who wins this game could be it. And I said, exactly. So like, just hope your best, play tight, and good luck. You'll be fine. I regret everything I said.
No, it seemed like, I think maybe we talked ourselves into it, but it seemed like a good call. Yeah, I think the activation was fine, right? You get 1 Twix in your opening hand and you have to burn a force push on turn 2 to get another Twix. That's not great, but that's something you can kind of expect. But the fact that he's gone on these critical turns with just not enough gas to generate some action here has been really disheartening. I mean, it's Hunt Down. It's it's the deck that's supposed to be swinging lightsabers, eliminating all the extinguishing the Jedi flames from the universe. That's just not happening right now. From Drew's side of things, it's just not the game you expected to see from Hunt Down, especially given the way those first couple turns went with just a couple turns of drawing some, posturing, seeing what's in his force pile. Just a real bummer that he wasn't able to make this more exciting with the options he had available.
Yeah, it seems very unlikely he's going to get Matt under 10 here, but we'll see. 20 in life for Matt with 6 in hand. Drew currently at 16 in life with 12 in hand. So, I mean, this isn't over, but it's going to take some maneuvering by Drew.
It's not over, but he's lost his Gick. Matt's going to have a turn here where he can get his big drain in for 5. If he has a Ray in hand, it's going to be absurd. But we're going to see him drain for 5 and then put down whatever else he has in his hand to that site. And then he can just draw up down to, 11 cards and feel pretty comfortable. And that's going to give him a big hand of options for Drew's next move. Drew obviously has to contest this, and unless we see a bureaucrat come down on this turn, which I can't imagine we're going to see at this point, then Drew's going to have to throw down whatever he has in his hand next turn, and it doesn't seem like there's any combinations where it's going to be enough.
Agreed. So Matt will have, if that happens, and he does advance, who are you betting on for performing tomorrow, knowing the same 10 differential separates the two players? And not to bias the entire stream, but our teammate is Charlie. So if we both pick Charlie, that is it maybe just be blind love for our friend.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a similar analysis, right? Like 10, yeah, you win the first game by 10, but Bastion's pretty good. So
He's
can
decent.
you just can you just wipe the slate clean and say you're just playing a game to advance? I mean, pretty much. I do think, Charlie's been on a really mean tear within the last calendar year, pretty much, of playing Star Wars. He's put up some good performances in the OCS. I think he had, I wasn't at Nationals, but he made top 8 there, right?
He
Or
went
did he
seven and
bubble out?
one. He was the day one leader, but you weren't at nationals, so what does it really mean? You know,
Well, yeah, my point is he's put on a really strong performance. I just know from talking about decks with him over the last couple of weeks, he seems like he's really locked in. Um, yeah, I think taking a 10 force differential up in a game 2 elimination with Bastion isn't, you're not feeling comfortable, but I think that's going to give Charlie enough of an edge. I'm going to pick Charlie to advance. And if you don't believe me, you can go check out my bracket maker bracket. I think I had that pegged from day one.
I believe I did as well, and so for all the reasons Greg just listed, I'm gonna also peg Charlie. I think it's no slight on Bastion. I already said earlier this week on a stream I thought he's the greatest of all time in my book, but it's a one game situation at this point. Charlie has been playing out of his mind. The man can win on his phone while riding back in a car from golfing. Like, he's unstoppable. So I'm going with Charlie. And in fact, I don't even know what he's playing. Uh, so it'll be interesting. I think both of them have a very wide range for what they can bring to the table in the situation tomorrow.
Yeah, so this was an interesting turn from Matt. He only activated 6 and then paid to drain for his big drain of 5. And interestingly, Drew lost a first strike from hand and Dooku. So he did have Dooku in hand. I wonder if the first strike was worth keeping here.
I wonder if he thinks, well, if it's potential that Matt will be initiating enough battles that he'll lose enough force to it that it's not worth it. I don't know. I personally would have liked to have seen that at the table. I think just it whittles away at Matt potentially. If the game is going to go Drew's way, it's got to involve battling at that site.
Yeah. And you figure, like, if you each battle twice, it's net neutral. I mean, if you each battle once, it's net neutral, but there's a coward in play. So
right. So it's
unlikely that Matt's going to get retrieval from it. There's a chance. I know Drew's running low on life force. He's probably already done a better job counting this out than I have. But if he can afford to ever retrieve with it, he's going to be the one at 2 battlegrounds. And that if there's any disparity at all, it's favoring Drew here, who's the one who needs to, just get Matt under 10, and then it doesn't matter what happens.
Agreed.
So he activates everything. He's got 16 active. He's only got 5 cards in hand. I think we can be pretty confident at this point that there's a Doctory and hopefully a Maul. if there's nobody else, it's going to get real interesting.
All right, we see a Sith
Okay.
Fury for a swap, so he's gonna probably swap an Emperor or Darth Maul for EPP Maul.
Yeah, so Darth Maul was one of his tech cards. We were anticipating maybe some percentage of like QMC from Matt. Darth Maul, Tatooine Darth Maul, who blanks a location. If it's only Harksef there, for example, would have been a huge play to Bespin if QMC was the matchup. But yeah, now he's got to use his Sith Fury to swap Maul for the EPP Maul. So he's definitely got an EPP Maul and a Doctory in his hand. If that's the only 2 characters he's putting down, it's not going to go well for him. But that costs 11. That would give him enough to put down, I don't know, maybe a Kylo. Is Kylo only 5? That would be
Kylo
nice.
is 5. The odds, if he has 3 dudes in this 4-card hand, then he's in pretty good shape. Like the best shape he could be in.
I mean, he's had plenty of time to curate it with getting all the crap he's been losing. He's been drawing. It seems like he's been drawing a lot and hasn't ever had an opportunity to play anything good. So yeah, I would hope that at this point his 4 cards are gold, but it just seems like any combination is going to be too little, too late.
Yeah, unfortunately, I tend to agree with you.
So he doesn't drain, which makes me think it could be 3 guys, or could be the Maul, could be Dr. E, could be a Yab.
The Molly
Okay, it's
swap
Mara.
for it is Mara.
I wasn't tracking Matt's deck around, but I wonder if he's got to be tracking Destinies because he can get to whatever card he wants. So I think he probably was able to track that Blaster Deflection around. Oh, interesting. So it's just Maul and Mara, no Dr. E. That makes me think we're gonna see the you are beaten at the start of
Matt's turn.
Start of Matt's turn, yeah. Or maybe he's trying to draw into it. He draws a card. Matt uses his Qui-Gon to peek. Oh, sorry. If he's using Qui-Gon, that means he's just dropping and drawing. So he already knew it was there. Maybe he did the communing peek earlier. I must have missed it. Okay, so Drew does save 2. He's got 3 cards in hand. MHT has 17 in life force, 6 in hand. Drew's at 14 life force, 3 in hand.
I just noticed that for whatever reason we are not showing up in video in the stream anymore. I'm just going to assume people can still hear us because no one has said anything in the chat and we have 27 viewers. But at some point, our video fell off the screen. But I assure you, Greg is still in the executor. I'm still in my guest room. We're good.
It's been quiet here on the bridge.
All right, thank you. Hobo Hobby chimes in with audio is fine. Thanks, guys. It's interesting, like looking back at them, like they're just maybe the 4 other dark side decks that Drew could have played and wanted to play, like may have made more sense. It's gonna be easy to second guess.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like this was the wrong call, unless you think factoring in the variance should have been a huge part of his decision making. I mean, if you have that turn 1 where it's like both your Twixes and Vane to the Holo Theater, you just feel amazing as the hunt down player.
Sure. But like on the flip side, when you get a bad hand or you don't get your right threats or whatnot, you feel the opposite. Like this game, the second Ray here is probably the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, and before that, Tarfool, which is interesting too, because now he can call out
like sniper.
I don't.
Something.
Yeah, I don't know that we've seen a sniper go off the top from Drew. But if he hasn't, then that would be a smart call out. You could also call out Force Field. I mean, those are the 2 good options for Matt right now. And like you said, Ray going down, picking up another card. I mean, he for sure has his Blaster Deflection back.
So my wife and I were driving back earlier this evening, and I was explaining. She asked, "How long do you think you'll be doing this?" And I was like, "Well, it depends. If the game's competitive, it'll probably be anywhere between an hour and 2 hours." And I was like, "So they already played the first game the other night, remember?" And she doesn't know anything about Star Wars cards, so I was like, "Well, Drew won by 10, which is kind of on the high end of not a lot." So like he
Right.
kind of has to play this game like he needs to win no matter what. And she goes, "Didn't you win by like 30 in a game last summer?" And then tell me that you're probably going to win unless something goes wrong. And she was like, and then the next night you came downstairs and you were like, well, I lost. And she was like, that must have sucked. And I was like,
Yeah, I remember.
not only did that happen, that happened against the opponent that Drew is playing against.
Yeah, and there's the GG. I
Yeah.
mean, Drew just scoops.
Yep.
Um,
It
yeah,
was
tough for Drew. He
now.
must have. I mean, I'm sure he's. I don't think he's gonna second guess the deck choice as much as he's just gonna be mad at the deck for
The
not
way
getting.
it,
I mean, it's kind of crazy to me that he spent all these turns doing nothing
I can't wait to see his
into
replay.
Matt's stack. What's that?
I can't wait to see his replay. See, Matt just asked, "Don't you have the 2-2 side?" He's like, "Yeah, I lost it." He should be like, "I lost it off the top."
Yeah. I'm surprised Matt didn't take note of that. I mean, I think that was a critical top deck for Drew.
Yeah, you and I were both like, "Oh no." That just changed the entire complexion of this game once Drew. It was the turn that Drew went to the hallway with Vader. On the very next turn for Matt, he drained. Matt lost 2 cards, or Drew lost 2 cards from hand, and then lost something good, and then lost the 2-2 side. I think.
Yeah, it was it was 2 cards from hand, and then it was a force field, and then the downtown plaza.
Yeah, it was
so just like 2 terrible top decks for Drew there. I mean, the way that his hand had run out, I guess his plan was to eventually get there and drain for 4. Which, I mean, even if Matt's draining for 5, that's probably going to be a close game when you're close to 10 diff anyway. But yeah, really unfortunate for Drew that was a card off the top. So yeah, Matt advances. I mean, well played by him. He knew how to navigate this matchup, and he'll move on. He gets the winner of tomorrow's game between Charlie and Bastion, right?
Yeah, and no matter what, that's going to be an exciting Final Four match to be sure. I mean, Matt plays great, good player, and no matter who comes out of that Bastion Charlie matchup, you know you're getting somebody solid there. Like that's going to be must see TV.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you all for tuning in. Make sure to watch tomorrow afternoon. It's 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern. We think that's 8 p.m. German for the game 2 of Charlie versus Bastion. Charlie is up by 10 going into game 2. And thank you all for tuning in. Because my computer is not cooperating, but Greg is here as well, and Drew shared his GIMP replay with us. So Drew shared this, and Greg and I just called this game, and so we are going to go through this and just see where we were right, where we were wrong, and comment on if Drew did kind of what he expected us to do. Greg, are you watching the replay at the same time? Should I share my screen with you in Zoom?
Yeah, why don't you share your screen, because I don't know what we might want to pause it. We might want to speed up at some parts. So
exactly. Can you see my screen?
Yep, we are good.
There's a way to get rid of this.
Yeah, and part of the reason why we were so interested in doing this is we were both kind of envisioning like two kind of game plans, 2 possible game plans for Drew to take in this match, and didn't seem like he was able to take either of those lines, and we're just really curious to see like how much of a disaster his hand was, because by every action that he took, it just seemed like his hand was complete junk at all times. And so I guess we're just diving in to kind of feel Drew's pain and see what happened here. Okay. Yep. Pretty awful hand. Right away. He's got the wrong maul. Got Vader Saber, but no Saber. He's got the bridge puller, even though he has the bridge. He's got his Gick at least.
We're not lying though. It really is like it's like if you mishmashed the wrong cards together, and that's what he had. So this first turn, he draws his whole force pile, as I recall.
Yeah, and I guess that's the force push at the end. I can't see it because it's blocked by some buttons, but
It is the force push.
yeah, I mean,
Apologies.
draws up his whole hand, and it's also garbage. He can't play his accelerate for the hallway because he won't have a guy there. And he doesn't want to give, that would have given Matt 6 active and the ability to put Luke. Wait, do all the Jedi deploy the 2 there all the time? Maybe they do. Maybe, I mean, I don't know. He could have played the accelerate to get the hallway out of there just to search, but not worth it for the 4 to see what 4 cards are in his force pile. Yeah, I mean, he draws up 4 cards. His hand is absolute trash except for the Gick and the cards to go through his force pile. So yeah, this is bad. So this is where we see him force push on turn 2. He gets the downtown plaza. I missed the rest of his force pile. Did that skip over that?
It went really fast. He went into it so quickly, I didn't even get to see it. But notably, he chose to play Emperor, right? So
right, yeah. So the makeup of the hand must have been not great, aside from the fact that downtown plaza. I mean, not downtown. The security tower was in there because he picked security tower and immediately plays Palpatine after that. So yeah, didn't seem like there was anything of value for him to pick up in there, which is strange. Like if there was anything good, his hand, 2 Visages, a Gick, an Accelerate, a Sith Fury, like he's got absolute garbage.
it must have been it's like there couldn't have been dudes because otherwise he would have drawn looking at this hand. And so he's like, I need to activate more on the next turn to be able to hopefully draw into characters. But yeah, this hand is a dumpster fire.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to play again.
Yeah. See if you can, because we know this next turn is Tarkin's Bounty, right?
Yeah.
So on this
I'll
next
slow
turn,
it
see if you
down.
can, yeah, see if you can pause it when he does his Tarkin's Bounty search. Because that's the one I'm really curious about. So yeah, we see this is the turn, right? Matt goes for
he goes for the search. I was incorrect that it's once per game. We were debating how Drew is in a good position right now with the 2-to-1 activation ratio. Remember?
Yep.
And then it's like,
oh yeah,
speak into this, into Yoda, and then it's like I'm only down 1 activation. And unbeknownst to Matt, Drew has a 9-card hand, and the only character in his hand is P59.
Yeah. It's just absolute trash. I think Matt goes down to like 4 card, or maybe it's after the next turn when he plays his loaded Luke. But Matt's gonna have like a 3-card hand with 2 more characters in it, and it's better than Drew's like 11-card hand.
I mean, I'm only laughing because it's sad but true.
It's so bad. Okay, so here comes the bounty. So get ready to pause this.
I did pause it. I clicked. It didn't take it.
I mean, okay, so there were some tricks in there. There was a Tarkin and a Maul and a Dooku were the only characters. The hallway was
in there.
And then I think the rest was red. So there's probably some tricks. And he knows what everything that's in there. So at this point, he's just drawing. You know, he can draw up all 10 cards if he wants to get specific cards that are in there. It just sucked. Yeah, I mean, like having the saber and no Vader is in there.
I double clicked on accident is what happened. So it paused and then played again, and then I paused it. So my apologies.
I think what he was really hoping for there was a Vader to be in force pile and the hallway to be in reserve deck, because if on that turn he can go Vader to the hallway, Luke can't come down to fight him.
He has
any other Jedi is deploy +2. Yeah, he has the saber in hand.
He has a Sith Fury, as Lana.
Yeah, so he can like take the Vader, play Vader, get the hallway, and then maybe he draws into either the Maul or the Dooku or the Tarkin, like any one of those other characters that could be in there. Like if that's his turn, he's feeling so much better. But yeah, it was just garbage again. So he does drop. He gets all 3 of the characters and the hallway out of there. I mean, at this point, his hand's actually not looking bad. So now I'm curious. So like here's a turn where MHT puts out his 2/2, he puts Luke there, and he flies Yoda over. So on Drew's next turn, this is where he no escapes to get the Vader off of his lost pile and just puts Vader to the hallway. I actually think this turn might be a mistake. And I get why he probably doesn't want to commit on this next turn. Like, so after he plays a no escape, he's got Vader, Maul, Tarkin. He also has a P-59 and Dooku. I just feel like he should be throwing characters down in front of Luke right now. Even though he doesn't have a hand to back it up, he has the Sith Fury. He has double Sith Fury. Is it? I think Sith Fury is unique, though, right?
It is unique, I think.
But he can battle. He can try to draw Destiny into like another Maul or another Vader. I guess another Vader doesn't help because he can't get the saber back.
Like he has kick in hand. Maybe you just like raw dog Maul out there.
Battle. I don't know. I think
I mean, it's aggressive, but what if you Maul with first strike?
So wait, can you pause it for a second? Because this is what we were talking about. I think when we were talking about Drew's activation advantage, which at this point has been nullified.
It's been flipped, yeah.
It's been flipped, but he's still like, this is the one tempo turn where he's still kind of the beneficiary of it, right? Like he had saved a couple last turn and he had a bigger hand. So I don't know if I like. So like there's two things. One is like if his line is he wants to go to the hallway this turn, set up a drain there, and then go to the downtown plaza later on and just race by draining for 4 and keeping Visage in play. I don't mind that. But then I think it's a mistake on subsequent turns to top deck cards at all without knowing where the downtown plaza is, right? Like you have to eat the 4 damage without losing from the top because you can't risk losing the downtown plaza. But I actually think with the double Sith Fury and Dooku in hand, this turn, it's like he has 16. I think you just throw down Maul and Vader.
Like no escape for Vader, Maul, Vader, Saber. You're not in terrible shape, and you fight.
Yeah.
Matt only has a 6-card hand, and you have Gick.
Yeah, exactly, right. So that's what I mean about like leveraging that last turn of tempo from having the activation advantage. Like you have a much bigger hand. You have a stocked 4 pile from the couple turns leading up to now. Like this is the turn where you just throw guys down. If it's Vader, Maul, first strike, fight. He's only got a 6-card hand. Like, yeah, we find out that it's actually got some guys in it, but I think this is a turn where you just just go in and try to get your 3 swings through.
But do you care at this point? You're glad if it's just guys in it, because then hopefully your swings are coming through. You hit, and then on your turn you still have Gick back up for whomever is there that also gets to swing again.
Yeah, like he's got a 6-card hand, so like okay, maybe it is like this crazy like blaster deflection, sorry about the mess, whatever hand, but like I think you just go for it this turn.
Well, you probably lose no matter what if his hand is that good.
Yeah. Okay, so if his hand is that good, then you're better off taking the hallway and downtown plaza line. But like I said, I don't think you can afford to top deck, and I also don't think that's not really what your deck is built to do. Like you have a beefy force pile and a big hand. He doesn't know your hand is that terrible. I mean, when you're giving away some of it when you no escape for Vader, but if you come down with Vader, Maul,
his Saber, hand, at that point, I don't think his hand is terrible. I just think he didn't have a Vader. If I see him play Vader Saber from hand after no escaping for Vader, I'm like, oh, he just didn't have a Vader, but he's got a 14.
Right. Yes. Your impression from Matt's side is that his hand could still be amazing. He could still he could have 2 more EPP Mauls in his hand. You have no idea.
Yeah. It's just like he has a huge hand and didn't have Vader.
Yeah. And so I think maybe that is a mistake from Drew. I think if you go down with 3 Saber swings this turn, and you have the other thing is like you still have, like you said, you have the Gick, you have a Sith Fury, assuming you use one in this battle to maybe take another Vader or take another Maul into hand, or a Kylo, anybody with a Saber. You just want somebody. But even if everything goes wrong and you don't do that, you still have a Sith Fury. Like you could Sith Fury for Dooku to get your EVP Maul back to fight him again next
swing
turn.
2 more
right?
times.
So you're just like, you're putting the pressure on this turn. You're leveraging the tempo that you had built up from the first 3 turns to wipe out his board with all the tools you have available. Yes, it's a little dicey after that, but like, I don't know. This hand doesn't seem, the stuff that he picked up made it not terrible. I mean, it's still not ideal. You have 14 cards and you're going to play your best 2 characters this turn. You don't have like Yab, you don't have Sniper, you don't have Force Field. You already had to use your Force Push. Like, yeah, nothing about this is like exactly what you want, but it's not that bad. You could also go Dooku. You could no escape for the Vader this turn, and then go Dooku, Maul, and Force Lightning used on Luke.
And almost assuredly hit him.
Yeah, because then you have your 2 swings. I mean, you could also like do all. He has 6 cards. You could also do any like these combinations of 2 different characters, like Dooku Maul, Vader Maul. Not initiate and hold the Gick because again, he only has a 6-card hand. Like that's going to be worse if one of his 6 cards is a mess.
Actually, Drew hates battling, so I kind of love like Dooku, Maul, pick up Vader, go.
And Dooku's deploy -1 because Sidious is on table. So if you go Dooku Maul is what, 14 or 13. The fact that you don't get to draw more isn't great. 13. Okay, so you could like pick up 1, but then you're holding the Gick through his turn, and you have the Sith Furies, and you can also, well, no, you won't be able to no escape back your Jedi because of Visage.
So here's the thing.
I mean, that's also reasonable.
Vader,
I just feel like
I don't think you no escape
know.
Vader. I think you play that stuff. I think you play Maul Dooku pass. And then you assume Maul will die in his turn. You're going to no escape Maul back, and then you're going to potentially, if you, in the 4 to 5 or 6 destinies that you drew in that battle, you may have Sith Fury'd a Vader or something into hand. And if so, then you also have another Jedi to swap with the Lost Search and the Sith Fury to get the other one of Vader or Maul that you didn't get. You know what I'm saying?
Sweet. What did you land on? You landed on.
To me, it's Maul Dooku pass, and then on his turn, you're likely
like
going to end up losing Maul that you can no escape back, but you're going to have drawn like 4 to 5 destinies unless Maul.
No, you can't. You're not going to be able to no escape the Maul back because Visage is going to get in the way.
Oh,
right?
Good point about Visage.
That's what I was saying earlier. But you still have a Sith Fury. So like, I think you
can get them all back.
I think you no escape this turn for Vader.
And don't even play him. Yeah, I
don't play him
about Visage. You're totally right.
Because then you have an option later to go Vader Saber, or to your point, Sith Fury for Maul after. Yeah, I think Dooku Maul was the play here.
And depending on how that goes, then if you've no escape for Vader, you can potentially the subsequent turn then go hallway Vader Saber. Like depending on what's going on at this site, if things have gone in your favor.
Yeah, and I just think. I don't think the line of like Vader to the hallway is bad, but then the big mistake is top decking when you don't know where the downtown plaza is.
Mm-hmm. It's paramount at the time that he goes there this turn that he has to get that other site straight online.
Yeah, like if you're committing this turn, yeah, you have to be able to find it. I mean, I guess like the other play that I'm thinking of is you have the Lana, but it doesn't really make sense. Like you're not gaining much by just playing Vader this turn and then Lanaing over next turn.
No.
You're giving him a turn to drop another character, build up his hand. Like that's why I think it was important to go down this turn, force him to empty his hand next turn. Yes, exactly. His options are going to be minimal. I think he punted his tempo advantage too much by doing this play.
As it turned out, I think one of those 6 cards was Rey, so like it's kind of a moot point, but still I think it's the like theoretically sounder play.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting is I think he later loses the castle from hand to a drain, but it's not on this turn.
Right now. Actually, just lost it to Visage.
Oh, he lost it to Visage. Okay, that's what I remembered.
Okay. So now he actually has like a decent hand of characters.
Yeah. Now he does have a decent hand, but
he has no force field. He has force lightning. This is when he decides to pull Coward. But I think this is the turn where Matt just like vomits out Anakin and Rey and a saber, and it's like now Drew is so far behind because he gave up this turn of battling.
Yeah, like if his last turn was, and now we see, he loses the 2 cards from hand that he can afford to lose pretty easily. I mean, yeah, it's a tall task asking him to lose 4 from this hand.
I don't know. I think in this hand, you have to have lost the Emperor, Accelerate, and then I think you have to lose one of your 2 Sith Furies probably, and potentially First Strike.
Yeah, I was actually thinking First Strike I would lose, and maybe the Force Lightning. I don't know if that's getting too cute. Actually, you could lose.
I think once you have P-59 in hand with Dooku and Force Lightning, myself, I'm counting on Force Lightning used on one of these tank Jedis to be able to hit something
actually,
with P-59.
Maybe you can lose the Vader. Yeah, I do agree. I think you lose the First Strike, you lose the Vader. Although I don't know, maybe this is like because we were talking about
Vader in play. Yes, I think actually it is the Vader then. Sorry, I was just looking purely to say and forgot he had just played the Vader he no escape for. I think I lose First Strike and Vader.
Yeah, which is I don't like the First Strike is maybe a little questionable. Maybe it's a Sith Fury and the Vader, but I think it's just like it's so critical to keep Downtown Plaza that you have to probably lose something more decent from hand at the spot.
Yeah.
Because like now, yeah, you're hoping now that he does nothing this turn, that he just drains and passes. Because you want to be able to throw down, like now you want your turn to be, well, okay, sorry, that was blocking the characters that he already threw down. Yeah, you were hoping that he did nothing else, so you could just drop down like Dooku, Maul, Aura, which is what he did end up doing, but it's not looking so good now against this. All 4 of these guys is not looking nearly as good. Like you're guaranteed to burn this Gick. And so even in this battle, I stand by the Lana being a pretty big misplay. You're talking about the battle that's going to come up on Matt's turn.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm even debating should he have force trained this turn or just played as many characters out as possible? Because he could have.
Oh yeah, he didn't. Right, there's no Dooku down. I guess he didn't.
He'd have 21 force if he hadn't force trained.
So, instead of P-59, he could have not drained and put Dooku there.
Yes,
and I think you're right. I think once. Well, I don't know. It's tough because you are just trying to get him down to 10.
Yeah, but I think the math is so not in his favor at this point.
It's the math is not in his favor.
You take one turn off draining to hope to rectify what's going on here.
Yeah, and your game plan just became so linear once the Downtown Plaza goes off the top that I think maybe taking a turn off draining, because if Dooku is here, if it's Dooku or a Maul, you're killing some guys.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you also really changes the complexion that much. I'm just would it have been better? And I think probably.
I think so. I think getting your Force Lightning used. You're also putting pressure on him killing Dooku because you could just pull that Force Lightning again next turn.
Mm-hmm.
So then the first swing comes through and we see him play the Lana, which I really, like I said, really don't like because it uses his last save force. Now he's not able to grab blaster deflection. Also, in the event that there was a sorry about the mess or something,
it's terrible. It's a blowout.
Yeah, you're just wasting it anyway. But also it's 37-16. You have no Yab, you have no sniper. You're not eliminating any characters in this fight. You're burning that Gick.
You have to think you're gicking either way. That's the thing that I don't understand.
Is the 7 forfeit doesn't matter on Maul. So you need to just assume you're gicking out of this battle anyway. keep your Lana in hand, keep the one to grab the sniper. And also that another mistake here is that first swing should have been with Maul, because you have to anticipate him getting clashed. You want to at least get one of the swings
There's
off.
no downside to swinging with Maul first. There is a downside
Right.
to not swinging with Maul first.
Yeah. So Maul gets out of the battle with no swings off, or his swing got deflectioned, and then P59 runs into the redraw. Yeah, just a really rough turn. I mean, bad sequencing, but Matt's small hand, he still had, having the blaster deflection there, and then the redraw into something that misses, just really rough. Although I don't. What's Obi's immunity? Obi is immune to less than 6, right?
Yes.
So the only thing, like, unless Drew draws a 6 or a 7, he's only killing Ray anyway. So really, he only missed out on 2 force loss by missing with P59.
Yeah, which obviously he's hoping for in a differential situation, but it's not.
Of course, but I mean, we've talked about how the line of play here has become so linear that you're fighting over this site.
And now look where he's at. No dudes to 4 Jedi.
Yeah. He traded Maul or a P59 for Ray.
And that's pretty much it. Like from here on out, I'm gonna accelerate us because I don't recall much of anything important happening. I think they play for a minute, a little bit longer, and Drew understands like this is that. I'm done, and wishes Matt well in his future endeavors.
Yeah, I think we see. Well, yeah, he doesn't even go down this turn, which I don't blame him for. Yeah, so this turn he picks up, he gets the other Darth Maul back into hand. He takes a turn to just drain and picks up into Mara. So now he's got Dr. E, Mara, Dooku. Yeah, he just he doesn't have enough activation, enough resources to get all of this stuff down, right? Like if he could in one turn drop the Dooku, drop the Dr. E, drop the Mara, Sith Fury, the Darth Maul for an EPP, and also drop that would be amazing. But he just doesn't have the activation and the force to do it.
But he has the tools. It's just too late.
He just got out tempoed, which is why I think forcing. Not that Matt had to do much different with the way he used his force, because the Ray is such a game changer, right? You're using your force to put cards to the table, but you're still getting a card you want in hand. That's why Ray is so good. I just feel like he was going to have a better opportunity striking early when Matt had that small hand.
Wow. Oddly enough, remember we were talking about what he could have at this point? He actually had.
He did have the
You Were Beaten, Mara, and Dr. E. The exact 4 cards that we said he had to have a chance. But interestingly enough,
he never plays the Yab.
He doesn't. And he could have potentially played Maul, Dr. E. I forgot this part. Yeah, Ray and Yarua came out, and that it's not good. Tarful, I mean. I don't know how.
Yeah, I mean, this battle isn't going anywhere.
It was done at that point. He's like, oh, I'm down by 30 power. Cool.
Yeah, I don't even know who you I think you have Anakin here so he doesn't add Destiny.
I think you just concede you're down by 30 power.
Yeah.
You've lost your kick and he's down by 30. You just say, good luck, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, he did have the nuts hand. But yeah, I think he really needed to force that action early and just hope some things went his way. Or just gritted his teeth, lost 4 cards from hand, including 2 semi-playable ones on that turn instead of top decking the downtown plaza.
Completely.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty much as bad as we thought during those early turns, but maybe there were some opportunities for him to play it differently.
He gives himself a much better chance if he goes for it on that turn.
Yeah, Yeah, and one of the things we talked about is Drew he's play tested with Hunt Down with and against it a decent amount, hasn't played it publicly, but I wonder if maybe he is more comfortable with some other dark options that he was considering. Maybe he would have been better off from a comfort level. Hunt Down, there are some games that you have to take risks, and I think this is one where he needed to take a calculated risk, which is a weird thing to say after you win game one and you're just trying to kind of play the damage mitigation or push your damage and minimize his. But I think maybe that turn was a little too risky for Drew. Didn't want to throw down his guys and fight and hope for the best, hope for some fortunate draws. And I obviously we can't say for sure, but I wonder if that ended up costing him a little bit here.
I would say it definitely influenced the outcome, and I imagine it kind of tilted him. But we'll see. I'm going to ask Drew. We'll get his rundown in our new allies team Slack. We'll see if we can get Drew to write a OCS tournament report or something of that.
Yeah, and I mean, well played by Drew. Obviously, a great achievement to get this far. Well played by Matt in these two games. They had a really good first game with Hunt Down against QMC. That was a great one to watch. This one was not as exciting. Not as many just strategic decisions to sit here and pick apart. But congrats to him, and we'll see who he ends up playing as a result of that match tomorrow.
Yeah, don't forget to tune in to Charlie versus Bastion tomorrow, 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern. And other than that, we will append this video to the original game stream for what gets exported to YouTube. And other than that, go follow the PC main channel. Use your Amazon Prime subscription to subscribe to them. And thank you for your night. Take care.
May the force be